There's something interesting I've noticed over the last few years. Some of the most stable and psychologically grounded people I know barely share on social media. They don't post their lives, and they don't feel the need to be seen online. And while everyone else is busy performing and showing off on social media, these people seem to be moving forward in ways that are harder to interrupt or derail. I now understand that social media absence reveals a great deal about how a person relates to attention and control. The psychology of people who don't post on social media. When someone stops posting on social media, the assumption is often immediate and unexamined. Something must be wrong. We imagine burnout, social withdrawal, or failure. But psychologically, that assumption says more about our cultural norms than about the individual. Many people who are quiet online are not disengaged from life. They are deeply engaged internally. Their sense of self is not constantly calibrated through external feedback, which means their decisions are guided less by reaction and more by reflection. Instead of asking, "How can I become more popular?" they ask, "Does this align with what I'm actually building?" This doesn't necessarily make them better in any way, but it does make them arguably more efficient. Their reference point is internal rather than performative, and that distinction changes how stress and identity pressure are experienced. What constant visibility does to the human mind. Do you agree that being observed changes behavior? When people know they are being watched, even abstractly, they become more cautious and less experimental. Risk tolerance drops, creativity narrows. This is one reason why people who post constantly on social media often feel strangely stuck, even when their lives look full. Every post reinforces a version of the self that now has to be maintained. Growth becomes complicated because changing too much feels like contradicting your own book cover. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung warned that when identity becomes overly identified with the persona, the social mass presented to others, the deeper self loses room to develop. Silence, in that sense, is not emptiness. It is psychological space. Why some people stop sharing during growth phases. One of the most consistent patterns you see in people who go quiet online is timing. Silence often coincides with transition, a career shift, a creative rebuilding phase, or a personal restructuring that has no meaning yet. When someone announces every step of their journey publicly, they invite judgment before competence and expectation before clarity. Mystics harden into labels. Half-formed ideas get corrected too early. This is why many high-capacity individuals instinctively reduce visibility while they are becoming something new. They are not hiding from the world, they are giving the process room to finish before it is named. The Stoic view, why reputation is a liability. Long before modern psychology, Stoic philosophers warned that tying your inner stability to external validation was dangerous. Marcus Aurelius wrote repeatedly that reputation lives outside your control, and anything outside your control cannot be a stable foundation for identity. Social media intensifies this problem. When your sense of progress depends on visibility, your emotional regulation becomes outsourced to algorithms, trends, and the moods of strangers. People who are quiet online avoid this trap not out of virtue, but out of instinct. They preserve autonomy by limiting exposure. Silence, from a Stoic perspective, is not withdrawal. It is insulation. What online silence gains and loses. It's important to be honest here. While people who don't post online gain certain psychological advantages, they also need to accept real trade-offs. They gain reduced comparison stress and a greater ability to change direction without public friction. The identity remains flexible. Their failures remain instructive rather than performative. But they also lose casual opportunities and social signaling that is most certainly useful in many environments. Silence is not a universally better strategy. It needs to be a selective one. The key difference is that quiet individuals often choose these trade-offs consciously, rather than absorbing them unconsciously. Why more people are silent online now? This pattern is becoming more visible because the costs of constant exposure are rising. Attention fatigue, identity exhaustion, and performance burnout are no longer edge cases. They are mainstream experiences. As social platforms reward speed and constant expression, some people opt out, not because they dislike connection, but because they value coherence. They want their inner life to develop faster than their public narrative. In psychological terms, they are protecting depth in a culture optimized for service. What's the key takeaway from here? When someone doesn't post online, it doesn't mean they are disengaged or falling behind. Often it means their sense of self is not dependent on being witnessed in real time. Privacy protects development, and not every version of you deserves to be permanent. Sometimes the most psychologically intelligent move is not to explain yourself while you are still changing. Not because you are afraid to be seen, but because you understand something subtle. Growth happens best when it is not constantly interrupted. Quiet is not absence, it is space. And for certain minds, space is where clarity forms.